Yeah, that's perfect.
Good.
You're not in any trouble in the corner there, but.
Ready? Hey, it's 5 o'clock. We want to welcome everyone to the Summers County Board of Education regular meeting, May 23rd, 2023, 5 p.m. Let the minutes reflect that there are 2 board members present. 2 board members are dialed in while one is on his way here. And Mrs. Harvey is unable to be here today due to a previous engagement. Mr. McBride, would you like to lead us in the pledge? Actually, you know what? We've got some students here. Let's have, who do we have? What groups do we have here with us today?
All of them.
We have a lot. So how about the students? Would you students all like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
It's the big flag over there.
Right. Jace, you start us off. How about it? Who will start us off?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Yeah. All right. Item 3, we have approval of agenda or adjustments. Did we have any bills that we need to pull out? Let's see.
There are actually no Safe and Sound or RT Rogers on the bills. It didn't look to me like so.
Okay. I didn't see any, so I was just double checking. You said there's not any. Okay. So no bills that need to be pulled out. Any other adjustments?
The only one, if you guys would, there was a field trip that was asked to be put on the agenda, even though the email said that we know it came in late. Next week, they would like to go on a field trip, and technically, we could make that happen, but here's the problem. It's in Blacksburg, Virginia, so that's considered out of state board approval. The field trip, just to let you know, is next Tuesday, May 30th, and Ms. Young asked if her students could go to Blacksburg, Virginia for a field trip. I know it's last minute, but I can't approve it without you all telling me if they can go or not.
So I'll make a motion that we add this this field trip to our agenda.
Second.
So there's a motion by myself, seconded by Mr. McBride, that we add the field trip for Miss Young's class, the out-of-state field trip to Blacksburg, Virginia. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Let the minutes reflect by a 4-0 vote that we will add the field trip to the board agenda. And let's add that in. Let's add that in right after public comment.
Okay.
So we'll put a 7B there.
Okay.
Okay, any other adjustments? Do I have a motion to approve the agenda with the mentioned adjustment?
I'll make a motion. We approve the agenda with the aforementioned adjustments.
Okay,
I'll second.
have a motion by Mr. McBride, seconded by Mr. Brogan, that we approve the agenda with the one mentioned adjustment. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Let the minutes reflect by a 4-0 vote that the agenda with the one mentioned adjustment has been approved. All right, now for the good part of our board meeting, we have student recognition. So we're going to start with Mr. Lilly and the esports team. If you guys would like to come up here.
Do you mind waiting for, I'm going to give you guys a second, Bill. Well, Tolkien's having a straight A banquet.
Okay, yep.
Right further than scholarship banquet.
Okay.
So I'm not picking on you guys, I'm sorry. But we got a lot of banquets going on tonight. So the kids Ms. Jones, you would go first.
Have Ms. Holt and Ms. Richmond introduce the math field day team.
Perfect. Sorry about that.
No, that's
This will
fine.
help them get to their straight A. I want to call it competition, but it's banquet.
Alrighty. If the elementary math field day team will please come forward. As well as the middle school and high school math field day teams. They're stuck to me like glue, I'm sorry. All right. So our first elementary math field day participant is Miss Sadie Richmond from Talcott Elementary School. She is a 4th grade student, as well as Drayson Mansfield. He is a 4th grade student from Talcott Elementary School as well. And then we have Channing Cole representing 5th grade at Hinton Area Elementary School. And these students worked really, really hard and really represented our elementary schools and our county very well. So I would like for you to give them a hand.
I won't bite, come on. You're in gymnastics. You know how to do that.
All right, and then we also have 6th grade student, Preston Farrell. He is our only middle school representative this evening, but he and a few others represented our county as well. So everyone give him a
For the high school, we have Braylon Farish and we have Kaylee Jones. They were the only two able to be present. Braylon's a freshman and Kaylee is a junior. We also had 3 of our seniors that are in DC right now, one of whom was actually chosen to be an alternate at the state level, but she couldn't make it. We got kind of last minute. States was on a Saturday. We got notice on Wednesday, so she couldn't really swing it, but it was still a huge honor for our little county to have somebody selected as an alternate. So they really, really did a great job.
Are you officially taller than me now? Let's get a quick picture. Oh, we got it. Not pushing. All right. Sadie, did you smile at your mom? Good job. Good job, guys. Good job. Okay, is Mr. Lilly now and his team? Let's do it. Sorry, guys, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, I'm very happy to be recognized for this program. I'm Mr. Lilly. I've headed the esports program since last school year. And since then, we've had a large portion of growth we've seen throughout a lot of the students. We have 3 teams right now for our esports program. They just finished their season a couple weeks ago. And we had 1 team, Logan Osborne, AJ Leftwich, step forward. And Dominic Flory, he couldn't be here, but I'd like to recognize them especially because out of 46 teams along the East Coast, they placed first place on the East Coast region for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And for the others, I'm still very, very thankful for all the opportunities that I've been able to have with them to share the growth along with them and myself included. And I'm very, very excited to see where this program goes in the future. And I think Logan wanted to share some of his thoughts from a student perspective.
Through this program, I've been able to participate in something I'm very passionate about. And we have made a little community, not only in school, but we're also getting other schools. We have people from Concord University, from Marshall University, WVU, kids from other schools such as George Washington High School and Charleston. We have a lot of different communities that are coming together thanks to this. This is amazing.
You gotta shake my hand. I know you're computer people. We're not doing this virtually. Congratulations. you guys need to get scholarships at colleges now. Did Concord talk about one here?
$500.
I wouldn't. You guys are real. Just wait a minute, don't get out here. Go ahead.
I don't get
There we go. Congratulations. I guess he's our official photographer. Got it? Congratulations.
I'm glad to see this program growing and hope that it will continue. It's good to have a variety of activities for our students to be able to be engaged with. They can find their own little spot that they fit in, and this is really good to see this. And to be able to network with other people outside of your school. I've had a lot of communication with the esports coach at Concord, and he's pretty excited about our program here because a lot of our students tend to go to Concord for college, and he's excited about the opportunities for bigger players to come to his school from our area. So I hope to see one of you all there someday. And if you make it to Keeps Post, come back and tell us about it. All right, so the next item we have the 5th grade mathematics assessment.
Let's hold her,
Okay.
hers more of a presentation.
Okay.
We can call it an accomplishment or award, but let's get the students out of the way.
Okay.
They don't want to hang around the board meeting. It's too pretty outside.
So we would have, next we have Golden Horseshoe winners.
Yes.
Okay.
Miss Jen, am I in charge of this? Or-
Yes, you and Miss Berkshire.
Okay, I know I got
Yes.
from the State Department, paperwork. However you want to do it. I have 3. Are you 1 or 3? You're 2 or 3? Where's the third?
She's not
Give her a hard time. Good.
All right, so the Gold Horseshoe is a test that's been given in West Virginia since 1931. And each county chooses the top winners. And we had 3 this year. Bailey Pack, Hayden Lasley, and Morgan Wood, who's not here.
You don't have to sing the whole thing. Can you guys tell us a little bit about the Golden Horseshoe and how nerve-wracking that is? Because it makes you think, doesn't it?
It does.
So can you tell the group a little bit about that? I bet if we pinch it, you guys would yell. Now, come on, talk a little bit. What did you guys learn from that?
Well, it was pretty hard. Mr. Posich taught us a lot, and it was all combined on a big test, and it was pretty hard.
What was the test about? Horseshoes?
It was like about West Virginia and what's happened in the past, and like what our state song is, what our state bird is, like
Okay.
everything about our state.
How about we go to questions? Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Can you tell me something interesting about our state that maybe people need to know about? One fun fact from each of you. You can't say she took my answer or he took mine. So let's go to ladies first.
Oh.
Do you have one and help her out?
Well, the first person to give out the Golden Horseshoe actually helped found the state.
Oh, really? Okay. About what year was that? Yeah.
About 1860.
Does anyone want to challenge him? Because I'm not. I don't think anybody's going to challenge him. We'll say that's a fact tonight. What about you, young lady? You know what the state bird is?
It's cardinal.
Okay. I think. Was it turkey? No. Yes, it is. Do you have anything else that might be interesting about our state? Nothing?
No.
Okay. Well, I don't want to give you guys a hard time, but congratulations. I know it was really tough, and we had 3 really good people who represent our county, and we're proud of them. So let's get a Oh, did you get your picture? Okay, real quick.
My sister won it over here, but I was not as intelligent as she was. I got the bigger sheet up where.
Is it okay to do the Young Writers next? Okay, if you are a Young Writers Award winner, come up front, please. We had a lot of participation this year from our schools, and it was great to see a lot of participation from the secondary level. We have a group of retired teachers that come back and read all of our papers that our kids have submitted, and then they pick the grade band winners, and then they get to go to Charleston and be recognized there. So they've already had their trip to Charleston, and we'll introduce the ones. I'm not sure of all the names, so I'll just go ahead and introduce them all. Grade 1, first and second grade winner with My Dog Ruby is Parker Zimmerman. Grades 3, 4, Wow, It's Snowing, Isaiah Fitz. Grades 5, 6, The Pumpkin Man, Lucas Lowry. Grades 7, 8, Summersville Lake, Ariana Meadows. This is Ariana, did I say that right? Okay. Grades 9 through 10, Serenity and Ashes, is Isabella Tebow. And our grades 11 through 12, the backstabber was Isabel Brooks.
Come on up, ladies, let's get a picture. You'll make us look a lot better. Congratulations. 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 Shoulder, ladies, right here first. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Now you. Before you walk away, you guys all wrote about something. What was yours? About? Your story? You're a little gun shy. What about you? You look like you want to talk. You wrote about a dog? Is that what? What's your dog's name in your story? Ruby?
It's our real dog.
Oh, is Ruby a good dog? Oh. Fair enough. You like going on a lake? You baptize people in your family? Yeah. Well, I'm an uncle to about 7, 8 of my nieces and nephews, and as an uncle, we did a lot of donkey. You guys do that in your family? You're just nice. You guys are just nice. Well, congratulations, ladies. I appreciate you guys doing what you did and representing the county well. Thanks so much.
We have social studies fair.
Hey, tell Ruby I said hi.
When I call your name, you can come up. Our social studies fair had kind of dwindled down a little bit because of COVID. We're slowly building that back up, and we had more participation this year. We get county and community members to come in and be the judges. So we will recognize those winners. We even had some students dress up for their costumes, which added another element to their program and their project. But the first one we are recognizing is Ariana Buckland, and she has McDonald's Millions. Aria. And can you tell them who you dressed up as?
The Hamburglar.
I would dress up as Grimace. Do you know who that is? Yes. Oh, I like Grimace.
So all of these students won first at the county level, and then they earned enough points to go to the regional fair in Wyoming County. And we also had some winners at the Wyoming County. And she won second place in Wyoming County's regional fair. All right, Lillian Kula, Emancipation Proclamation.
Congratulations. You don't just do fun flashbacks, do you?
The Franks, Kaylee Kales. Fidgets, A Calming of the Mind, Caitlin Clay. J.Q. Dickinson Saltworks, Aniston Ward and Peyton Bennett. Twin Towers was Jaden Wachevich and Emma Bloom. The Endurance, Abby Dunford and Rayleigh Graham. History of West Virginia, Josh Reel, Levi Meadows, and Aiden Kohler. And the next student, she and her partner, her teammate with the project, they dressed up as well. Ancient Greece and their traditions was Bailey Richmond and Ariana Blankenship. They participated in the regional fair, and then they also won first place there and got to go all the way to the state fair in Charleston. And you had to do your project by yourself, right? And you pulled out a third place in the whole state, right?
You adapted well, didn't you? So talkative. That's an official photo banner. Can we get one for you guys?
You will come back with your costumes, especially the Hamburglar.
No, because she'll make it our grandma. Yeah, I know. Congratulations.
Okay, next we have the fifth grade math assessment. Thank you all for being here.
Hello, I'm Hannah Kinsey. I'm a fifth grade teacher at Aunt Mary Elementary, and I have been working with Dr. Edwards, as I'm sure y'all know who that is. And we have been working on doing assessments with higher DOK levels. So the assessment I made had higher DOK levels than my kids were used to. We were doing subtraction and addition of fractions. And on the assessment that I made, it was word problems. You can ask Channing, he had to do it. And it had an extra number in the word problem, so it was very tricky. They not only had to figure out, is it addition, subtraction, they had to figure out, well, what numbers do I have to use? And the first time I gave it to them, I'm not gonna lie, it didn't go very good. They all pretty much failed it. And so you can imagine, as soon as I got that back and graded it, I was like, oh my gosh, what did I do wrong? I failed as a teacher. Well, I got to thinking, I was like, well, I'm not going to give up on this. I'm not giving up on my kids. I know they know it. So I gave them a highlighter, put them with a partner, and let them see how much farther they could get. You can see, I blocked the names out, you can't see how much they worked up their paper with the highlighter. Then after that, I realized most of them, they were doing fairly well, but there was a handful that still couldn't quite figure out the problem. And so I went over how to figure out the equation that they were going to need to do, and I gave them a marker to do that. And every kid improved from that. So our kids are capable of doing the harder questions and the harder work. We just have to put the effort in.
For the board members, we made a special color paper with her examples on here. So you can see that she went in and tried to make the questions a little more rigorous, and then the students not only grew, but they're starting to expect it now because they can't handle the work. It's just a different way of presenting more rigor. And we're very proud of what she's done. She did, when I saw her work, she showed that to Miss Jones and I couldn't believe all the highlighter work. Sometimes you just gotta trick kids into having fun with work, and I didn't realize a highlighter could do all the difference in the world, so well done, well done. That was good. So thank you for sharing the report, we appreciate it.
I think that gets us through all of our student recognitions. Is there any additional?
I think we're good. I think we got everybody.
Okay. Item number 5, disciplinary hearing. This is a student disciplinary hearing. I'll make a motion, according to West Virginia Code 6-9A-4, paragraph 3, discipline concerning students, that we go into executive session.
Second.
Motion by myself, seconded by Mr. Brogan, that we go into executive session. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, minutes reflect by a 4-0 vote that at 5:26, we will go into executive session. Executive session ended at 5:42 PM. 5:42 PM. And do we have any statement or comment that you would like to make, Mr. Warville, regarding this one?
Yeah, with the student we discussed, I think it would be appropriate to bring this student back to school this fall with the regular classroom setting as a traditional student. So that'd be the fall of 23-24 school year.
I'll make a motion that we accept the superintendent's recommendation.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Brogan, seconded by Mr. McBride, that we accept the superintendent's recommendation to bring this student back 23-24 school year into the regular school setting. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining. Let the minutes reflect by a 4-0 vote that we have accepted the superintendent's recommendation. Item 6, presentations. We have with us Dr. Howard O'Cole, who has retired and probably busier now than he was when he was working full-time. So it's a pleasure having you with us.
Thank you. I'm going to work from here, if that's okay.
Sure.
I do have some handouts and I'll run over the table and I need to get those. I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here to discuss the RFP that I presented to you. I don't want to really go through all of this. I think you did have a copy of it, but I'll leave time if you have any particular questions. One of the things that I wanted to point out, and I tried to summarize what I think you're trying to do with this, and I think it's pretty important. You're not really working so much with a survey as you're trying to get your community involved by giving constituents, people within your communities, a way to express their voices in a way that's safe and productive and inclusive. And so it's not so much the survey. I don't think that you're really after. It's a linkage the survey will use to develop within your communities, among your constituents. So you're really going to, depending on the clarity you provide, I think that's part of this. What are you really trying to accomplish? What do you want to do with the survey? That's why I put in the RFP. It's good to sit down on the board and narrow to get exactly what you're going to want to accomplish and do. And from there, then, to put the survey in place. It can be done in various ways. One of the things that I was thinking about is it's too late to involve students now, obviously, in this school year. If you work on this during the summer, I believe, then what you can do is you can get student input early in the school year, and from there, you can really develop the survey actually around what your mission statement is, which says students first. Then you can customize the survey that way, get input from students and then others as well. I built into this the idea of maybe having an advisory group that works with the board, not to tell you what to put in the survey, but rather to run some of the iterations we do by them, get their input as well. This is a broad-based group. It can include people from the department. By the way, there's a lot of interest in this among county boards in this state because several people sent me the RFP because they said, we've been wanting to do something like this, and I think you can actually model that to other counties as well. So basically, the RFP that I include, that provided to you, includes sitting down as a board, clarifying what you want to do, having student input, which can be done, given FERPA and everything, so that you really get the survey you want as a county board to, and I have a proposed way of doing this using a dedicated web page that people would be able to go to for that particular purpose, setting this aside to the fall, working on the summer to getting this done. And then when you get this completed, then we can do a lot of publicity and everything. School will be in place. You can get notice about the survey completion there. There would be discrete parts of the surveys for employees and students, and then, of course, for the community at large. So what I've done is, let me depart in just a second. I toyed with the idea of what could be done, if you'll pass this down, please, for a web page. This would be discrete to Summers County. You'll recognize some things on here. We can enlarge this. We can make it whatever you want as a board. One one of the things that I think we need to do is, and there's, I don't have that in front of me, but there are 2 links at the top. Part of the linkage could be we could explain in greater detail about the survey in one of those. Then we could have a message from the board president and the superintendent uniting on this about what the survey is to accomplish. Don't worry about that Latin there. I don't know what that means. I was trying to read that, won't be in there. That came up in another meeting we had on something similar to this. But what I think you can do is, I think you can have a dedicated webpage, do a lot of publicity, press association, your own local media here, the local newspapers around. I think you can do a lot to get interest in this and create say this will go online maybe 3 or 4 weeks from now. Use that time to get the very good responses. And then from there, after you've worked on what you want to accomplish, don't make a lot of questions, make some open-ended questions as well. People like those. We have ways to aggregate that information. And then we have ways to put that all together to give a report to the board. So when all's said and done, I think what you're really doing is you're doing something that cannot be done by school climate surveys. We've talked about that before, boards have, but you need to have surveys like that. In fact, there could be linkages with those surveys. And the other thing to consider is, I call this, and I believe, all county input survey. I don't know what we want to call it, but that's something that I gave, so that everyone in the county knows, hey, I have a shot at this. Here's the questions which you as a board have arrived at, working with the superintendent and others who may advise you, and I think you'll get a lot of good information here. And then you can use this. Now, teacher training did come up with this, and I think this is very important. And I didn't really call to get any clarification. I think that'll come out, if we sit down and I'm given, work with this on, then you can really begin to see what you mean by that. But I think the very valuable part of this is, once you get this input, then it's going to be given to faculty senates and staffs and others, so that you can then develop ways to have a mirroring idea of what your community feels like about the schools, and then you could work with staff to develop ways to deal with those and incorporate that in curricula, approaches to students and things of that nature. So I think that could be read as an adjunct to this, but I don't think it is, because you can use survey results, I think, for a number of different purposes, and one indeed is not only to see the strength of your community, you saw that tonight with the students here, but the other point is you can use this then to begin to present this to various community groups. This is the thinking of the community about our schools. You have opportunity to be involved in this, and then you can use it, as I've said, as means to inform teaching, approach to teaching, staff, and other. I think that may have been what you meant with that, but I didn't want to get that clarification, because I think it's better to talk to the board and the superintendent if this were to be done. You saw the expenses that are included in this, the dedicated web page. Actually, when you do research on this, and you can find that a lot of county boards or school boards of education really across the country would use SurveyMonkey. SurveyMonkey is good. It can be used for this purpose. In fact, I found a survey, and you can find it online as well, Wikipedia or Google or whatever. There is a survey that was done by a very large district in Oregon, and they did use SurveyMonkey. But I think it's better because I think we're better looking at the data and different subsets and things like that. We don't want to get too much caught up into that either. But looking at that and seeing from there ways that you can compare different responses and things like that different. So I think that's another thing as well. And I don't think SurveyMonkey will allow you, could be wrong, I don't think it allows you to have people do this multiple times. We want something, I think, you get one shot at this. As a respondent, you don't want a lot of, I'll go by 2 or 3 different times and respond to this. The other things that come into play here is you do need a lot of publicity about this. You need to show that it's authentic. And that can be done by press releases, that can be done by talking to the community groups, giving people a little bit ahead of time, hey, this is coming out in 2 or 3 weeks, what we want is your responses. There can be also, and I thought about this too, in an Oregon study I did, they also had, so students could respond to this as well, but I think we need to figure out, if we work on this, a way to get student responses that are not only from the survey, but from maybe a focus group and others, and it needs to be done that way as well. I think that's a good way to enhance what you're doing here. So if you have any questions, I don't want to speak too long, you've got a big meeting ahead of you. I'll answer any questions if you have any, but that's what I propose. You see the RFP that I gave you. There's two areas of caution, I think. One area of caution is when you do something like this, be sure that you, when you start asking questions about schools and learning, you have to be very careful because that can backfire. So that's one of the reasons I think a lot of upfront discussion is needed. There is a listing, I'm going to send it to you, of questions not to ask because they're not productive. But I think we can get at this in various ways that would be productive and try to find out what the community thinks about education here, what's going on well, which I think there are a lot of things, or what can be improved maybe, but doing it in such a way that there's no gotcha for anyone. This is a very productive and positive way to get feedback. Because I don't think you want something that could be a way to be misconstrued. And that's kind of the way you need to sit down in the summer and very carefully think about what you want to ask in the survey, and then get the advisory groups that I'm thinking that you probably need, not again to fashion this, but rather say, here's a better way to phrase this, here's what we want to get out of this. So I do give you those cautions, and I will send that to you. Now, the webpage idea here, that's just thrown together to show you it's got a green that I think one of your schools has a green color for mascots or whatever. Those are the kind of things you have to avoid really, but I just threw this together to show you what the dedicated webpage could look like. Berkeley County Schools did this for their superintendent search. They have a great deal more capacity and have a different objective in mind here. We have an objective of connecting with your community. So I think the school mascot symbols and things like that. And then when we go up into the survey, another thing you could do, and you have some very good photographs, you have one on Marshall that's on your, you can use things like that as well when you get into what you're really describing to the community. So those can be added also. We'd have to probably get the First Lady to agree to use Marshall photographing this, but those things can be done. I'm just throwing that out because you want to, for people who don't have kids in school, and I'm sure that's a lot of people in this community, for people who don't have kids in school, they may not see that information because they don't go to your website. Give it to them right there. And don't give them to them with editorials or comments. Just give them to them as photographs. You know, things that are on that Mr. Warble's taking photographs about, and that creates a connection, I think, a visual connection. It's pretty easy, pretty simple, and it doesn't do any survey bias. Who could be against Marshall? Does no survey bias at all. So
You're talking about the dog, correct?
Yes.
I didn't want people to think we're just promoting one college. So.
Oh, no, that's another thing you do as well. Actually, I do want the idea that we could develop a survey with Marshall. It's not in the school year now, but we need to have something independent, I think, of SurveyMonkey. So maybe we can use Concord or other colleges and everybody get together and collaborate. Because I think another thing about this is modeling collaboration. What you're trying to do is, I think as a board, you're doing the survey, but you're also modeling how you can collaborate with communities and various entities around the communities, which will be Concord or Marshall. So we can do all those things. I think that's part of this as well. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to respond to those.
So would this be for one survey, or would there be multiple surveys throughout the school year, like one at the beginning, one toward the middle, and one toward the end? What are your thoughts on that? And if it was in the RFP, I may have overlooked it.
No, I think that's in the RFP. One of the things I think you do is you need a community survey. The community survey is open to anyone. It's all county input survey. It's open to anyone in your community. There could be a way students respond to that. The Oregon survey that I could show you did have that. As long as it's anonymous, something like that, which it would be because you're not going to be able to, unless you're very dedicated to that point, create any kind of responses. So I think that's one part of it. I think after the survey is done, this is the community in all county input survey. After that's done, then I think, this is how I'm thinking, I think then you might want to, focus groups are very important, and you can have focus groups with teachers, employees, and students, as long as there's, I agree to do this, and they get parental permissions. I've talked to Mr. Concept at the department about this. Then I think you can take the survey And then I think you can get additional information from that by people sitting down to talk about it. And that would come back to the board as well. So the timeline would be probably the second month, October, after the school year starts, send this community survey, put it online, get it out, give 3 or 4 weeks to respond, get the data, and then before the end of the semester, December or whenever the semester ends, then have focus groups, and then in January, you've got a lot of ways to start the next school year, 24-25. That would be my thing. And that's all included in here. I think those are easy things to do. Focus groups can be very cumbersome, they're hard to put together, but we don't have to do it that way. You can do simpler ways of doing that. So we did that in Ohio County when they did a superintendent search, and we had someone independent come up and do the actual focus group itself, which was a discussion about the qualities of incoming superintendent. And they actually learned a lot about the board, because people didn't talk about that so much as they talked about issues in the county. So I think you can work together to have 2 focus groups of employees and 1 of students, and probably high school students, or however you work that out, could be done with middle school maybe as well. And then that would inform you, so as you go into January and in the next school year, you've got a lot of data to work with. So that's what I think. And I think that's a valuable way to go about doing this. So now, if you need any other questions, I'll be glad to respond to. I do want to send you that information about the questions kind of to avoid, because I want you to start thinking about this, because again, we don't want anyone put on the spot. We don't want a gotcha. We want constructive and positive ways of looking at your school system. And I think that's what you all want for people in the blue as well. So, okay.
You asked them.
What?
How many surveys?
There'll be 1 survey, again, what I think there'll be focus groups. That way you've got the survey that students can respond to. Then you can bring students together to look at that. But students could also inform the questions you ask. In other words, I'm going to send you that information about their perceptions of the school system, which could be used as a basis then to some of the questions you try to ask. That way, students first.
So those focus groups, would they be run internally, or would those be using some of the graduate students? Or?
I think graduate students could do that. I think they can get credits for that if they do that. I know Marshall used to do that. They're taking another path, but I think Concord, which is close by, I think you could do it that way. Yeah. And they would just need a little bit of training about how to go about doing the focus groups. So.
If we have any additional questions we think of, we'll have
All right.
we'll send those to you.
Okay.
Appreciate you being
Thank
here
you.
and
Appreciate it.
presenting this.
Thank you.
Safely to Kentucky.
Appreciate it. All right. Thank you.
We do have one other presentation that will be at the end of June, so it will be after that meeting before we make a decision.
Dr. O'Call?
Yes.
We have 2 more presentations in here,
Okay.
so we'll be closer to the end of June before the board makes a
Okay,
decision on
all
the
right.
3 RFPs that were presented to them.
Okay.
So give us some time.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I don't know if you had a few other students we need to recognize to make you know, but
Okay.
we have Mr. Campbell maybe.
Yes.
I think I don't want them to go unrecognized.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I agree.
And we had 1 math field day student come in for the 7th grade team, and that's Lily Elkins. Come on up. And you went to WVU Tech, right? With the team? All right, you go over there. Mr. Warble will
We
shake
won't
your
bite, I
hand.
promise.
You
How are
may
you?
ask some questions.
Congratulations. So you really like math? This is our president, Mr. Ainsley. You want to shake his hand? And then we're going to get a picture with you, if you don't mind. You're going to be the rose, and we're going to be the thorns, okay? She's a quiet one. What's your favorite part of math?
I like algebra.
You like algebra? Can you went to Western Virginia Tech? My daughter goes there, she takes calculus 4.
Wow.
I know, wow, I can't spell calculus 4. But she wants to be a mechanical engineer. Are you looking at math as a job someday? Biotechnology. I think you'll do it. Congratulations, you make us proud. Yeah. Oh, Mom, did you get a picture?
Not really.
You want one? No, come on. Sorry, kiddo. We'll blame it on Mom. We'll cover you. You stay right there. Then later you tell Mom, how embarrassing. My goodness.
Thank you, guys.
Did you get the one you want? You sure?
Thank you, yep.
Okay. Was it my good side?
I don't know.
Oh, Thank you, Ms. Angel, for doing that.
All right, the next presentation we have is Mr. Adam Cooper, Teach for America.
Well, I'll be brief. This is an item that's on the agenda later on in new business. Teach for America, just to sum it up, it would be sort of like a VISTA program where teachers from throughout the country could be placed here in Summers County, and we could hire them at our discretion. A few things to note about that. First of all, they have an alternative certification side that's very rigorous. It has a great deal of benefits on the financial side that they pay, and it has been approved recently by the West Virginia Board of Education, State Department of Education. So they are going down that route with Teach for America. We are not required to use this. What this would do would just give us the ability to reach out to them and to use them if we would need it, and they could recruit across the country on our behalf. There is the fee there in the MOU is $3,500 per candidate if we hire them, and it's an extra $1,000 if they're a math or foreign language. We only pay that if somebody is hired by us. As far as the workforce requirements, such as hiring or RIF and transfer, they're like any other employee that we have. If they're the one who would be subject to a RIF, they would get RIF. I've spoken with their executive director, and I brought that question up to her specifically. There's nothing, we can't supersede state law with any kind of contract. Other states have collective bargaining agreements, and there are some other things that they do that I would consider more private sector. But in West Virginia, we are bound by West Virginia Code 18A. So they would be like any other employee that we have. I think that's all the points that I have. That's an overview of the MOU. If you have any specific questions, I can take them now or in new business.
So the fee goes to who?
That goes to the company, Teach for America, for like I would call it a headhunting fee.
Okay. And are they locked in for a certain amount of time if we're paying that money?
Most we'd have to pay would be 2 years. If the candidate stays, they stay. If not, they would.
They'd have to stay for 2 years.
Well, if they don't stay and leave on their own accord, then we don't owe them any money. So
you pay that
fee
for 2 years, not if they complete the first year. If they leave during, okay. As far as if they leave, that would be a breach of contract on their part. So I can ask that question more specific. I can send them an email, but my understanding is that would be a breach of contract on the candidate's part. So the candidate on their end is making a commitment to come to our district.
So this is just essentially an extra recruiting tool we have.
Yes, if we fill up our vacancies over the summer, the good old fashioned way, then we likely will not use this. It would just give us another avenue that's out there.
And just to reiterate what I think you said, if we sign an MOU with them and we never use their services, we owe them nothing.
Correct. It's just there.
We only pay that money if we hire a person.
Right, it would be per candidate.
Now, is there so these teachers would come to us for a 2-year period. We would pay the 35 or 45, but these would be certified teachers for those particular subjects.
Yes, they would be certified under some umbrella, whether it would be their alternative certification or already certified. And we may reach out to them and say we need, a special ed teacher, and they may not find anybody that wants to come here. They're not guaranteed to find anybody. We could put out a request to them. They could do a search, and if they find anybody, if they find someone, they find them. If not, we're still here.
And would this be county funded?
The 3,500 would be county funds. The salary, if they're special ed, the salary would come out of IDEA, if they're a title teacher, whatever, but just like any other employee.
State aid or no?
It could be it could be anything.
Yeah, and I should have specified, I'm in the 35, 65.
Yes.
That would come in.
Yes. Well, I think it's good to make sure we understand the difference. The fee itself, the headhunting fee would be county, but it depends on the position.
Well, I just wanted to know about like the background check.
They would have to go through all that. Yep.
Do everything
Yep.
just like you do if you want to hire.
Yeah, I will say their alternative certification program it's very, very selective. We've had a couple that applied when we first started talking to them because they can apply as individuals. We've had some that haven't got in, so they are very, very, very selective.
And these would be in-person teachers.
Oh, yeah, yes, yes. Yeah, you would have somebody they would relocate here. If they wanted to stay and be Summers County residents for life, they would have that opportunity. If they want, like anybody else, they're free to move.
So there's travel nurses, now there possibly could be travel teachers.
Could be. I've been approached by another, headhunting service that, since you mentioned it, it started off in the healthcare side and has branched into teachers because they've seen the market. We haven't signed anything with them, we haven't used them, but I have their packet, and that's something people are going to.
And you know how Dr. O'Call talked about modeling collaboration? In the fall, at the Price and Steering meeting, Dr. Beasley, the past president of Concord, he brought that to our attention after a meeting because he saw what we were dealing with. Until people come to the meeting and say, this is our need, he said you might want to think about Teach for America. So we started doing some research from the fall till now. It just takes time to vet it out, and now we're finding out as we're doing this, the state's also looking at it because you're talking over 1,500 vacancies next school year statewide. That's a lot of holes in public education. We're dealing with like everybody else, the healthcare, like you said, traveling nurses. We're just trying to find another way to recruit, basically.
I will say that we are ahead of the curve because the first thing I noticed when I got to their website is there's no West Virginia office. West Virginia, the map kind of shows like cell phone service. West Virginia is black because there's no access into West Virginia with Teach for America. Now they're coming, but their office is out of Hazard, Kentucky, which is just right across the border in our southwestern corner. They're entering the state, but we're on the front end of it. So I don't know where it's going to go from here, but it's at least something that we're trying to leave no stone unturned. If we get one, we get one. If we get none, no harm, no foul.
Do you foresee us posting jobs and trying to fill in our traditional ways of filling a position prior to going to Teach for America?
I would see that, yeah. That would be my plan because we're not guaranteed, we can't, I don't feel like we can bank on this. I think this is just icing on the cake if we can get one or two here. But yeah, we're going to have to recruit locally like we always have.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ernie. Because there's not one thing here all at once, if you don't mind. Today we have with us a couple ladies. We have ARH Angela.
Yeah.
Okay, and they're giggling because they're messing with me in a text. Joey's not coming. He sent the brains from ARH.
Yes, he did. Absolutely.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Absolutely. Let him know you said
I'm
that
a little
too.
scared these two ladies are getting along so well. And then we have, you guys met Tara before with Summers Medical, and it's been no secret that there's been a little bit of itchy, scratchy, clunkiness with trying to get everybody on the same team. And we mentioned collaboration earlier. We have two ladies here from both entities, and we're trying to say we are all going to work together and make this a symbiotic relationship. So I'm going to do a great job of turning it over to these ladies. And you tell Joey that he sent the brains and I second what
Oh, I so will tell him
Okay, I
that.
appreciate it. So we have ARH representing and Summers Medical, and these two ladies are going to talk about how we're teaming up to work together.
Right, so I'm gonna let Tara, you lead us off and
Okay.
you tell us what's going on.
Okay. So I just first want to thank you for giving us some time to present to you. I want to give you an update on our health center. We are quickly approaching our first anniversary. It's hard to believe that it's already been a year since we've opened our doors. The patient base has went well. We definitely see the need for our services on the school campus. Teachers are using us often, and that's great because we're keeping them in the classroom. And students have had a hiccup with consents. They're definitely coming to us to utilize our service. However, we don't have consent to see them. So we have revamped our consent process, how we're getting those to parents, and then they have the option to choose whether they want us for urgent care, primary care, both, or however they want to utilize us. But they've definitely signed up to see us now for urgent care services, for sick visits. And so we're seeing them, just not as much as we want because of lack of consent. So I think it's really neat to see that they're coming and they're going to utilize the service and keep them in school, attendance up, their academic achievement up, and graduation rate all involved. It goes well together. I also wanted to update you on behavioral health therapy. Our behavioral health therapist, Megan Wheeler, is staying very busy. ARH has been great to send us referrals, and so we see the need for outside community members and for us to be open after hours. We've had that request, so Megan is going to see a few of the family members through the summer to keep families together. And then we're bringing on another therapist starting a day a week to help with the community and the referrals from ARH. So we will have 2 therapists available throughout the summer and then going into the school year. Then lastly, I just want to talk about our collaboration with ARH. We are currently working on an MOU. MOU for medical facilities are legal, so we both need our jargon kind of worked out between our attorney teams. We're working together well. We just need time for them to work that out. So it's probably going to be mid-July before we sign our MOU. We're pretty excited about our collaboration. We've worked well together, and the great thing is that ARH has willingly accepted our patients. They see our patients. We send orders to the hospital. We solely refer to the hospital for our x-rays, MRIs, CT scans, HIDA scans, stat labs. Anything that a patient needs like that goes to the hospital for patient convenience and community enrichment. So we definitely want to keep services within this community. We also recently learned that they have a 340B pharmacy, and that is an incredible service, saving money to those that are uninsured or underinsured to receive their prescription medication. So we are referring them to their 340B pharmacy, but we're also, our patients write on their consent form what pharmacy they have of their choice. And so we also send scripts to Walmart, or not Walmart, Walgreens, Kroger's, and Big Four. So we're utilizing, all of the pharmacies here in the area, but definitely if they're underinsured or uninsured, ARH has a great program going to help the community get their scripts. And I'll let you, I don't want to step on your toes. So I just wanted to give that information that we're working on that collaboration, and it has been a pleasure to work with Angie and to work with the new CEO, Mr. Priest. And I think that the community will reap the rewards of us working together.
I think so. So Joe Priest is the new CEO at Summers County. He was named official about 2 weeks ago. My name's Angie Rivera, and I'm the Chief Nurse Officer for the West Virginia region, so Beckley ARH and Summers County ARH. So I go back and forth. The turnover at Summers County in leadership means a lot to Joey and I because we want to be more in the community. So one of our things is we reached out and we said, hey, we want to be a partnership. We want to be in the community together. So when you see Raynell, you'll see us. And then we talked a lot about that being here in the high school and middle school. If something happens, we have our pharmacy, we have the 340B, we have the discount program, we have the services right there. They can get their x-rays or anything they need for radiology. So just to know that we're here. If you're going to see us, you're going to see Joey. You can't miss him. Real tall guy. He's excited. He's really sorry he can't be here. He's in Kentucky today, but he'll be back tomorrow, and he will be out in the community. You'll see both of us now. So we're glad to be here. All right. Thank you guys so much.
Don't walk away. You guys have any tough questions.
We got this.
Look, we're part. No questions?
No questions?
Thank you for.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And you don't have to stay. You don't get extra credit. You can go home.
Well, you know, I have 2 middle schoolers in Miami, so I'm headed home.
Oh.
I'm gonna ask, is there food?
You didn't bring us in?
Gosh, Parker.
Thank you.
Thanks, ladies. All right, sorry about that with the principal. We now have benchmark data, the principals. What copy do you have now? Oh, you have the high school in front of you? Well, let's leave one. You have one for each of us?
It doesn't matter.
Well, I'll just let Ms. Farley, if you have extra.
I like her have colors. Thanks that I'm. You know what, let's just skip mine since I have it now.
Okay.
And thank you all. I always try to say thank you for your service when I get the chance to be here and talk to the Board of Education. I do appreciate it. I know that it's extra time beyond your day because you cared. I shared a lot of this data with you all not too long ago because you were up at Talkheads on April, whichever day now. I don't remember. But this is Talkett's benchmark data for math and reading. So we don't look at all core subjects, but what I'm sharing with you today is just the math and reading. So we're starting with PALS, and I think that when you all visited the school, we had just finished some of this for certain grade levels, but we did not have second grade. Okay, I need to do something.
No, you're good.
Sorry.
Keep going.
We did not have second grade at that time, so that will be a little bit of an update. But on the second page of the PowerPoint, I'm sure we're all going to be sharing PALS, but PALS stands for Phonological Awareness Literacy Screening. So there are lots of sub-scores when we give students that test. When we start at the kindergarten level, we're mostly looking at letter sounds, being able to recognize the letter and its name, but also the sound that it makes, and then eventually putting those sounds together. So if you look at kindergarten, I have listed here both a table showing fall, mid-year, and spring, but also put that into a graph so that you could visualize that growth. And spelling is probably the excited area. In all grade levels, we've learned a little bit more about reading, but in kindergarten, this is huge. So again, spelling means that they're now learning to put those sounds together. So you can see that in the fall, our little 5-year-olds, on average, were scoring a 2. And as we got toward the end of the year, they had increased to a 15. So they were very capable of putting those sounds together into words. If we look at first grade, this one looks a little bit different. And I don't think that all the grade levels are sharing this or all of the elementary schools are sharing this exactly the same way. But what I've shared with you here is called the instructional oral reading level. So that's basically the reading level that child is able to read independently and learn from. Because often when kids learn to spell and sound out, they can do that, but if they can't do it fluently, they're not understanding what they're reading. So again, you have fall, mid, and spring.
the very lowest level is readiness. And basically, that's the child being able to sit, to focus, to know that we're going from left to right, those type things. So we can see a lot of growth in that area for first grade. In the fall, we had 20 students out of, I think we grew. So I think we're at 30 in first grade now, but 20 out of 30 at readiness in the fall, and that dropped down to only 3 at readiness in the spring. So that was huge growth. So looking at the visual chart, we want to see the blue go down as we go across this chart, and the gray is the end of the year. So we're hoping that as we go across the chart, the gray is increasing. And that is truly what happened. By the end of the year, we did still have some students that were below grade level. I think we have about 15 students, a little bit more, 17, that were below grade level, but all of our students made growth in first grade reading. In second, same thing. We have the instructional oral reading level. Second grade at Talcott, we only have 1 second grade, and it truly was hit the hardest when COVID came about, and it wasn't just COVID. Their teacher that year left on maternity leave, and we've all experienced this stuff. But then you have masks when they're trying to learn how these letters are formed, and that is a really important part of them learning to read, is to be able to see how we use our mouths to actually form that sound. So when they were learning all of this in kindergarten, we had masks, we were coming 2 days a week, all that kind of stuff. So then you have any child that has anything at home or in their lifestyle that is going to cause a barrier. It's a double whammy when we put COVID into that. However, with all that said, our second grade has made a lot of growth. We still have 10 students that are at or above where they should be at the end of this year. And in the beginning of the year, it was about the opposite. So we've had a lot of growth there, and you can see again that our blue was really big. So in the beginning of the year, we had several down on this beginner end in the kindergarten first grade level, and as we went throughout the year, they grew. All right, so we'll switch to math for kindergarten first and second grade. And I think that we're soon going to be adopting a new math assessment tool, which I'm personally excited about. This is great to show growth, our MyMath, but the teachers really are using their classroom-based assessments, kind of like what Miss Kinsey, she did a wonderful presentation, but it looks like she's doing a great job in the classroom having the students go through. They use that more than they're going to be using these, but to be able to present to the district or the state, it is a good way to see growth. So again, you can consistently see growth in every grade level, from kindergarten, first and second. And so looking at the fall, these students are being tested on what they should know at the end of that grade level. So some of them actually were pretty high even in the beginning of the year. And then on the next few pages, even though that information is already there in a table, again, you can see the graph just comparing fall, mid-year, and spring that shows growth in kindergarten, first and second. So before I switch to third, fourth, and fifth, those teachers, when we're saying benchmark testing, we use Title I money for the most part to purchase substitutes so that those teachers can administer the test, but also have the time to break down the data and look, at which standards the students are all doing poorly in, that we need to look at again in the classroom, but then to break down groups and put those students with Title I with targeted plans. So we do that each time that we test. Move into third through fifth. So they're a little bit different for the time being because we do use the Cambium portal on the WVDE website. We use it a lot, don't we? So I'm not including the IMA data. I'm sure that you hear IMA. The IMA data, or tests rather, are smaller tests that, let's say in math, if they're working on perimeter, Miss Maggie Richmond could go find that IMA test and use that in her classroom to see you know, when I give the students this test that's designed by the same company that will test them at the end of the year, how are they doing? The language is a little bit different. It's usually a little deeper depth of knowledge, DOK 2s and 3s. So we use that just to kind of gauge how we're going to do at the end of the year. But what we're looking at right here is the computer adapted benchmark. So again, they're being tested on everything that they should know at the end of the year. We only did this one twice. So really you're able to see some growth, quite a bit of growth from the beginning of the year to the end in Exceeds Mastery. And of course, they just took their end of year test that we'll be able to share in September. 4th grade ELA, again, you can see the growth there. We had growth in all levels, and then in 5th. And what we did after we gave this test, so this benchmark mid-year test was given, I'm trying to remember which day specifically we gave it. I think we gave it pretty early in March. It was before Easter break that we gave the mid-year. So all the 3rd, 4th, 5th grade teachers and the Title I teachers met together in PLC, and again, they broke down this data, just looking at which standards we needed to reteach and which ones we should really focus on before end of year testing. And again, looking at 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade math, it's kind of the same thing. I've given you the table and the bar graph just to show the growth. And these do include students with IEPs and exceptionalities. So these are all student scores. If we broke them down into subgroups, things may look a little different, but overall, all the students have made growth, and the teachers have worked very hard to go through the data beyond what I'm showing you here. Again, just looking at standards that we needed to focus on. And I think that Maggie Richmond had shared some of that math data with you all at Talkit, and some of the standards that we had really focused on and specific growth in those standards. Any questions for Talkit with this?
No questions. I'll just reiterate what I said that night. We're just looking for growth, and we're seeing it. We're not going to get 100% of mastery. We're all sick of using the COVID excuse, but unfortunately, it's still there. And slowly but surely, we're overcoming it, and that's all you can ask for.
Yeah. I appreciate it. I think that I have to say that the work that we've done with Dr. Edwards, I think will really help, but I think it's great to see the teachers work together and share things like Ms. Kinsey shared tonight with her strategies for them to share that with each other. I think that's helpful. All right, thank you.
Wait, before you go, we want to do this for you.
Well, the students got recognized. Why don't we recognize our participants? It's not like every day they get a call and say, hey, you're doing good today.
Are we going to take pictures with them too?
No, we're not going to take pictures. We'll save them embarrassment. Unless they want to. That's pretty good, I like that.
We'll wake this up for the 3rd time.
Shave the beard for summertime.
I got to go.
There are handouts, but they're on the mailboxes at Jumping Branch, so we're going to have to just roll with the PowerPoint today. All right, so when we started out our school year, these were our goals. We wanted 70% of the students in K2 to benchmark as measured by PALS, and we wanted to see a 5% increase in our CIA scores in ELA from fall to spring. And then in math, we really just focused on 3-5, because last year we saw that math wasn't really a weakest area for us in K2. Overall, we were pretty strong, so 3-5 was going to be our focus. And again, we wanted to see a 5% increase. So, look at our data.
At the end of the year, 100% of our students in kindergarten were on grade level. 50% of first graders were on grade level, and then 90% of our second graders were on grade level. We saw about 10-point growth in kindergarten, 1 to 1.5 growth in first, and then about 2.25 points growth in ELA. Math, we see a similar trend. Again, this is, I guess last year we saw we were pretty strong K2. We've just got even better this year with that. In our kindergarten, they had a really strong pre-K year last year, so they came in ready to go. And Ms. Miklos and Ms. Richmond have just kind of run with it, and we continued. Again, 100% in math for kindergarten and first, 90% in second grade. And then an average growth of about 17% in kindergarten, 19 in first, and 25 in second. A lot of this growth that we've seen and we'll talk about is attributed to the work that we've done with Dr. Edwards. Our teachers are working in PLCs weekly to discuss what they're assessing, how they're doing it. They're giving each other feedback, and then they're going back and perfecting what they're doing based on the feedback before they implement it. And then we come back and discuss it after it's implemented to kind of do a debrief. So overall, K2, very satisfied with what we're seeing. We're just going to continue to build on that for the next year. Third grade, we've seen amazing growth here as well. When we look at the CIA data, we actually gave it 3 times this year. We gave 2 CIA, which is, in layman's terms, the questions change based on the student responses. The next one changes. But then we gave a fixed one, which is the same questions to every student. We gave that one in January to kind of see where we were. And then our teachers took an afternoon after the January administration of the CIA to break down the data, look at where the kids were. They really went through it question by question or topic by topic for each kid and built a plan. And then they just continued working from January to the end of March to see where they're at. As you can see, our on level, or those that meet standard, is 50% from ELA in ELA, and that is up from only 9% for proficient at the beginning of the school year. In math, that's 66%, up from 9% at the beginning of the school year. And we're seeing an average of about 73 points growth in ELA and 47 in math. All right, so this is kind of how we compare overall. Our average score is 50. The state's 29. In ELA math, 66. The state's 27. I will add a little disclaimer. That's the students that took it. Not every county it requires them to use the CIA, but of what was taken, that's where we rank. Fourth grade, we started out with about 31%. We increased that significantly. We have an average growth of almost 18 points in ELA. Math, pretty much a similar story, although more growth in math than ELA. We saw that in fourth grade as well. They really hit those math standards. All right, so again, how do we compare? If you look at it, again, this is just the sample that took it statewide. We're 39%, the state is 36, math, and we're 32, and the state is 26. Now, we obviously want those to be higher, but I'm pretty impressed with the growth that we've seen this year on where we're going to go. You all just approved a looping. You approved our looping about a couple board meetings ago to move Ms. Knott and Ms. Collins to 4th and 5th grade. I think we're going to continue to see the growth that we've seen this year with that, because those students really want to work with them, and they want to perform for their teachers. and they talk about their scores and what they could do to increase them. So that relationship's there, the skills are there. I think we're going to continue to see a growth as we've seen the last 2 years with those particular groups. All right, this one's my favorite, because I told you when we came and we met as the LSIC presentation in December, our fifth grade really struggled. They were in a split class for several years. They've had some COVID. Until they got to Ms. Metter, the quality of the instruction just wasn't what it should have been. And that kind of comes with just the nature of the environment that they were in at the time. This year, we started out again, 9% of our ELA our students proficient in ELA. We ended up with 63% of students proficient in ELA. This is a class that a heavy percentage of them have IEPs, or they're on SAT plans or some other plan that to meet their needs for assistance. And they were able to, with the support of their teachers, move from not only 9% of them being proficient in ELA to 63%. This was when these came in. This is the one. This in math in third grade kind of blew me away. But because I know the struggle these students have had to really grow and get what they need, and how hard they had to work to get there, that just did a lot for me when I saw that come in. All right, math, we're still struggling. It's still a struggle, but we are able to decrease our does not meet standard, our lowest scoring category, by 36%. We're able to move those students to partial mastery, and they started at the lowest of red, or the lowest in that category. So I consider this one a win as well, because we are able to move these students forward in a way that we haven't been able to do in a while. And again, this is how we compare statewide. We're 63% of our students were at level or above, 39% were at level or above for the state. Math, 13 for us, and then 19 for the state. Not too far behind them. Obviously, we probably shouldn't celebrate 19% mastery, but it is what it is at this point. But again, for me, the growth that they made in math was tremendous, and they've struggled and they worked very hard for that. So again, I consider that a win and an achievement. And the things we've talked about, we want to make sure they're in the right place, make sure we're identifying them, getting them the right supports through the SAT process. We talk about our PLCs. I've talked to you about that a couple times, the things we're doing there. The IMAs are given as benchmarks and instructional tool. When I came to you in the fall, I presented how I've lined out the math book to the state, to the IMAs based on the standards of what's given. Our teachers have given that to kind of measure growth as they're teaching them content, but they're also using it as an instructional tool. Teach them how to answer the questions. To make sure that we're going beyond just basic recall of information, and I think our scores are reflecting in that, because they're able to manipulate those questions and be pretty successful with that. We are trying to, when I say live in a DOK3 world, that the majority of our lessons have some sort of DOK3 or higher level thinking component to it. And one of the big strategies we've done is we just add justification into all of our lessons. So not only do they have to give you an answer, but then they have to justify that as well. All right. And then we ensure we assess what we teach. Again, we do that work in our PLCs every week. They look at the assessment, they look at the standard, they make sure that there's an alignment. If there's an issue, then they provide feedback. And our two PLCs, we got a K5 or a K2 and a 3.5. They both run with this program or this kind of system that we built, and each one will give different suggestions, and the other will take it. And we've seen a lot of relationships form that I don't know would have formed in another way. There's been a lot more sharing, and I think we've just grown together as a school in addition to what we've seen academically. We've used our itinerant teacher, our interventionist, our instructional aide, and our Title I teacher. all those individuals are providing small group support in some way. Be it in intervention or maybe, for example, in fourth grade, we have a couple students that really struggle. And so the interventionist a couple days a week will pull out a couple of those students and work with them on whatever that week's lesson is to kind of give them some more one-on-one support. So it's not always about addressing those skills deficits, just a little bit more help where needed. All right. So our tools and strategies, those are those test-taking strategies that are essential, that we know that if students have those strategies, they do better when they take tests. All right, our attendance, this is another one. I'm not going to take credit for this. She's not in the room, but Ms. Joy Bowling, our CIS facilitator, this is all she does. She talks about attendance every day, all day, and everything that she does is geared towards that. Last year, our chronic attendance rate was 42.5%. Our goal was to get it to 39% by the end of this year. I will say that 42.5 was, a lot of it was because we had to exclude people based on COVID regulations at the end of the year. So I don't really feel that that's fair, but again, that's the world we're living in. And we were able to bring that 42.5% down to 15.7% currently for this year. All right. So if we look at where we've been for 2 years, and this is just bird's eye view. Again, we're not necessarily in the same groups, but same grade level, so to speak. This is where we started as a school, as a team at the beginning of fall 21, when we try to come back and minimize the COVID impact as possible. You know, our ELA, where we started, 36% of our students in kindergarten were at or above. Now we're at 100%. Math, it was 0. Now we're 100. Again, these are two different groups of students, but it's kind of just a bird's eye view comparison. Every metric we look at, we're moving in the right direction. First grade, 0 and 50, 36 and 100. Second, 18 and 90, 45 and 90. Yeah, every metric we look at, we're moving in the right direction. And then we look at third grade, you know, we were 16%, 15%. We're now, or not 15, 50, 7 and 66%. Fourth grade, 17, now 40, and then 0 and, hold on, 32, thank you. All right, and then fifth grade, we were at 40%, now we're at 63, 0 and 8. Again, the 8, we obviously want to be more, but again, those students have worked so hard to get where they were to be partially meet standard. So overall, for this year, we've seen a lot of growth, and then over the last 2 years, we've continued to see the growth. I think we're at a point where, as long as we continue to do what we're doing, I don't think our school improvement efforts will be able to stop, as long as we continue with the dedication. None of this can I take credit for. Those teachers that work every day, that meet every challenge that I give them or every expectation that I set, they're the ones that really should be here presenting this to you, because they're the ones that have done the work. They're the ones that have helped those kids get to where they are. And we are all, our entire school is moving in one direction, and that is student focused. And it doesn't matter whether they have an IEP plan or a SAT plan, or they're just, you know, a general ed student without any supports. We all have the belief that they can learn, and we all move in that direction.
When you first started, did you not say that your goal was 5% growth?
Yeah.
I think you need to set those goals a little higher. You give teachers a little more credit.
And we have discussed that when we wrote our strategic plan for next year. We discussed moving our goals to be a little bit more stringent than they were before.
And it was awesome.
Kevin, you know, we have
I will do that for you.
Well, there's a transition. I will correct Dr. Green on one thing. He has to take some credit. good principals can make the rest of the building run the right direction. I'm seeing that with the comments, and I appreciate you saying they're doing the work. They are, but you're doing the work too, Dr. Green, so, don't be silly, you're helping out too. I don't want to cut you out of it.
All right, for those that do not know the challenges our school has faced this year, we started the year off with 9 vacancies. Mr. Dernan taught for a couple weeks, Madeline Payne taught a couple weeks in one room before we finally got a long-term sub that had never been in the classroom before, never had an education class. We had 5 certified teachers this entire year out of 12 in K through 5. 5th grade, we had a long-term sub that's actually a social work major. He left. In comes Miss Herman. Then she left, and he comes back. And so it's been a yo-yo. We had in kindergarten, one out for maternity leave for 12 weeks. We never did hire a Title I position the entire year. So a couple of part-time interventionists took care of some of our 4th and 5th graders that needed it. And we had an itinerant position, but we never got anybody to take it either. So until probably about February, March, we didn't even have a long-term sub to do it. So now we have one that is there most days. We need an itinerant person. So, but with that said, the positive thing is we still showed growth. So I'm very pleased to say that. With PALS, as Jesse explained, with that, we reported out on oral reading fluency. And so I actually put what the benchmark was for when we get down to 1st grade and on. So you'll see how that changes with every benchmark period, because that does make a difference. So for kindergarten, it's just based on letter knowledge and their sounds. So 42.5% by letters and sounds at the beginning of the year, 70% by letters and sounds at the end of the year. So, as you scroll. 1st grade, this will show you, the beginning of the year, they have to be at 85% readiness, but that's the lowest reading level. So everybody's there. So we also looked at whether or not they were ID'd, and that's based on their SUM score. So that kind of includes everything. So that is what these percentages are. 49% were at readiness, and they were not ID'd, identified with being very low. And then at the end of the year, by the end of the year, you can see it increases. They had to be primer or higher by mid-year. By the end of the year to benchmark, you have to be on the 1st grade passage, and you have to read 90% accuracy on that. So that is why our score actually decreased here. 49% at the beginning of the year, end of year, 22%, because it's not the same benchmark. It gets more difficult. We would like that to be higher, but again, you have to have the teachers that are trained, and we have foundations in place, we have integrity in place, we have a strong Title I teacher, so I think that we're going to be fine next year. I think they're just going to, those scores with that particular group of kids is going to really excel. If you look at the growth, percent of students who went up at least 1 reading level. That means if they started readiness, they went to pre-primer or primer, and then it goes to the grade levels. So overall, 1st grade, 73% grew by an entire reading level, and that's what we wanted to see. So that's pretty good grade. For 2nd grade, they blew it out of the water as far as I'm concerned. They started beginning of the year 26.5% benchmark. At the end of the year, we had 77% of them reading at a 2nd grade level. They were on level. I attribute that a lot to, again, foundations, integrity. Miss Kelly Mills was the first to be trained in Orton Gillingham. Our Title I teachers are all being trained in that. It's very explicit instruction. And so this year she asked to loop with the same groups so she could have both second and third grade on her list. So at the end of this year, the majority that she had last year and this year will be dismissed from Title I services because she's gotten them 2 of them. That says a lot. So if you look at the growth, 90% of the kids grew at least 1 reading level. And I'm saying at least because that's what I base my percentage. Some of them grew multiple levels. So then for my math in kindergarten, again, beginning of the year, the benchmark was 51%. By end of year, they had to make a 65% on that assessment. Percentage of students who increased by 5% was 100%. Those that increased by 10% or more was 97. So, and you can see the overall benchmark went from 61% to 83% at the end of the year. First grade went from beginning of the year 64% to 97% at the end of the year. 100% of the students increased by 5% and 96% increased by 10% or more. For second grade, they started the year at 23% and ended on 38%. And then as far as growth, 97% increased by 5%, 90% increased by 10% or more. And then we switch over to CACIA math for 3 through 5 benchmark. So you can go ahead and scroll up to the overall. Keep going. Right there. All right. So overall, with third grade, we started the year at 90% did not meet mastery, but by the end of the year, only 59% did not meet mastery. Partial mastery went from 3 to 22%, so that shows you they're growing. And then we went from 0% met standards or exceeded standards to 19% at the end of the year. When you look at the scale score points, 95% of our students increased by 10 or more, and 43% increased by 50 or more. We had 3 or 4 that increased by like 160 points. So that really stuck out. I don't know if they just didn't test well at the beginning or that they actually grew that much in knowledge. So, and then fourth grade, thank you, right there. We started the year at 76% below standards, ended with 51. Partial went from 21 to 38, again showing growth, and then went from meets or exceeds standards of 3% to 11% at the end of the year. 56% showed growth of 10 or more scale points, and 18% showed growth of 50 or more points. And then fifth grade, at the beginning of the year, 80% were below standards, end of year 58%. We had 8% met or exceeded standards at the beginning, 19 at the end. 66 showed scale score growth of 10 points or more. 28% showed 50 or more scale points. And what was this? Go back. Oh, CACI ELA, sorry. For ELA, 97% at the beginning of the year, 65% for does not meet standards at the end. Beginning of the year, 3 for partial, 24 for end of year, and we went from 0 met standards or exceeded to 11%. I think one reason that third grade is usually a little bit lower because they have never taken a test like this, anything like this. It's got higher DOK levels. A lot of the questions have multiple parts to them, so it's a learning curve for them just to take it. 68% showed growth of 10 or more scale score points, 14% showed growth of 50 or more scale score points. And I would also say in third grade, their teacher has been out for the last several weeks of school due to maternity leave, and then another issue last year. Well, maternity leave's not an issue, but a medical problem last year. And she wasn't able to give the test either year. And I really do think that has a strong impact on how your students perform for you too. We had to get an alternate test given. Fourth grade, overall for ELA started at 76% below, ended the year with 59%. You can see the growth there. We went from meeting or exceeding from 3% all the way up to 23. So that's good. 41% showed 10 or more scale points, 15% showed 50 or more scale points jump. So, and fifth grade, you can see the growth there, 64% below, 57% below at the end of the year. Meets or exceeds its standards 26 at the beginning and 30 at the end of the year. 60% showed 10 or more scale point growth, 19% 50 or more scale score points. So we were pleased with that. And then this is just a breakdown of the subgroup data. We are a CSI ATS school, which means we weren't identified overall because we did make our annual target of growth from the previous year to this past year's summative test, except in our special ed cell group. So with our special ed cell group, we had to form a leadership team, and we meet once a month on that and put in some strategies for improvement. So we're really working hard to try to get them to meet standards on the summative assessment. It's a little difficult when you're taking a test that is on your grade level, but you're reading 2 or 3 grade levels below. We've got some things in place, so we want to keep seeing growth. And I'm not going to read all these to you because there's a lot of subgroup data too, and I've been up here a long time, so we'll just slowly scroll through these, and you can see how many's on level. Keep in mind, we have very low numbers in some of these subgroups. Like the homeless, this is for PALS, it's just K2, so we only have currently 2 students identified in those grade levels. And then here's our special ed for My Math. 31 students are in that one.
If I go too quickly, you just tell me to stop.
And then here's our CACIA math for our special ed students. And so it shows that we did make some growth. This was 30 students, grades 3 through 5. 71% showed growth of 10 scale points or more. And you can see from beginning of year to the end of year the growth. And then that's for the ELA for special ed. That's the minority group. And our homeless subgroup for grades 3 through 5 were only 5 students. Our low SES subgroup, we're 76% low SES in our school. So that's the majority of our student population. So the data doesn't always look a lot different from the rest of it. So, but there is growth. All right, and the final section is the tutoring data. We had up to 20 students in our program. However, some of these students, the numbers fluctuated because some stopped coming, or we added additional ones through the SAT process that we felt could really benefit from tutoring that hadn't been coming. So 75% of the second grade tutoring students are now on grade level. 100% showed growth of 2 or more reading levels from beginning of the year to end of the year. We had 5 second graders in that tutoring group, and then the rest were 3 through 5 students. Now, my math for that group was 50% benchmark by end of year and 75% improved by at least 10% or more. As far as the CIA math data for the tutoring group, we still didn't end up with anybody in the meets or exceeds, but we did decrease the below standards and increase partial mastery. 76% showed growth of 10 scale points or more, and 47% showed growth of 50 or more scale score points. And then for the ELA, 47% showed growth of 10 points, 29% showed growth of 50 points. That gives you the average percentage of tutoring sessions attended by the students. I literally took each student's attendance, how many sessions they attended, and then found that average. So if they made that much growth and only attended approximately half of the 52 sessions that we had this year, if we can get their attendance better for next year, I think we'll see even more growth. But the tutoring has been valuable. Teachers have come and commented that aren't part of the tutoring program. Mr. Durnan teaches one of the groups about how much their reading levels have increased and their fluency in class. So again, it's been a challenge, but we showed growth. And I'm happy to say, as of this moment right now, we only will have, if you approve everybody that's on the agenda tonight, 2 positions to fill for next year. And that's our 2 5th grade. So we hope it stays that way. I know it changes around a lot during the summer, and sometimes there's shuffling. But we are excited because we may actually have certified teachers in possibly every position, but at least all but 2 as of right now. And that does make a difference. It really does.
Is that your motion you're making?
Yes. Can I answer any questions?
Like Kenny said, it's just good to see growth. I mean, we want to keep moving forward and overcoming the obstacles that you have had to overcome.
I know earlier in the year when I came to your guys' LSIC, and you're just, I'm sure I didn't hear, but just the tip of the iceberg of the problem you guys were dealing with. To see growth after what you guys have dealt with is pretty amazing, actually. So
We have some good workers, and it's good to celebrate.
I'm
Even
not sure.
old Mr. Durham.
I'm not sure what in the world keeps Kit coming, but we're glad he does.
Kit's our utility man. He does it all. I think you work on boilers too, don't you? I do just. See? Hot water here.
Hello, Christy Schaefer, Secondary Education Specialist here at Summers County Comprehensive High School.
And Dennis Berkshire, Assistant Principal.
And we're going to talk to you a little bit about the data here at the high school. We talked a couple weeks ago, I spoke to you about some of it. And we're going to, what we talked about last time, some of the numbers are in there. I'm just going to skip through that. And then we have some new data that we're going to share. Our CIA data, we talked about that last time. I put that in here so you can have the numbers. We have it broken down for you by 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade.
Okay, so our 9th grade PSAT data, we gave that test this year in April. If you look at our school, it says 51% met benchmark and in English and 24% met it in math. And then for our 10th graders, 55% met
benchmark in reading and 18% in math.
If I could add to that, no, you're good. This is the first time that we've given the 9th and the 10th grade tests. So that was one of the things that they've added for this school year. We didn't have any data once our students left 8th grade. We didn't get data again until the 11th grade. So this year we decided to add this benchmark. So now we have some data that we can work with. Then we have our HMH growth measure for our reading. We have beginning of the year and end of the year. At the beginning of the year, you can see our scores above level was 4.6 and on level was 19.5. And this is for 6th grade. And at the beginning of the year to the end of the year, we've shown some growth here in 7th grade. We went from, well, I guess we went down 2% here. In our 8th grade. Then our 9th grade with our HMH growth. In our 10th grade. Our 11th grade. And our 12th grade.
So next we have some ALEKS data. So for 6th grade, you can see on level, they went from 3% to 34. 7th grade from 4 to 31. 8th grade 10 to 11. 9th grade 1 to 14. 10th grade just up a smidge. 11th and 12th grade from 3% to 14%. And our attendance rate, when I pulled it today, we're at 88.128, which is a big increase from last year, which was like 66% about, I think. And then the graduation rate that we pulled, this is just for the students who are walking across the stage this Friday, so about 96-97%.
How many do we have in the 12th grade class? 8.
Do you have any questions for us?
I've asked my question.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
All right, I think that gets us through the presentations.
Yep.
All right, good. Public comment.
None tonight.
Okay. Item 7B, we have the field trip. Ms. Stacy Young's class.
I'll make a motion, we approve the field trip.
Second. We have a motion by Mr. Brogan, seconded by Mr. McBride to approve the out-of-state field trip for Ms. Stacy Young's class. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Let the minutes reflect by a 4-0 vote that the field trip for Ms. Stacy Young's class has been approved. We have before us item 8, the May 9th regular meeting minutes.
The motion, we approve the minutes is read.
Second.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Brogan, seconded by Mrs. Farley to approve the minutes from the May 9th, 2023 board meeting as read. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstaining. Let the minutes reflect by a 4-0 vote that the minutes from May 9th have been approved. Item 9, we have approval of bills.
For a change, I can make a motion, we pay all the bills.
Duly noted.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Brogan, seconded by Mrs. Farley, that we pay the bills that were presented to us. Is there any discussion? Just a quick look through here.
I think Miss Harvey, she's at that banquet. She asked a question about the $14,000 to, let me find it in my small print here.
Howard Industries.
Yeah, Howard Industries, thank you, sir. That's cameras at all the schools that we're providing, and I wanted to make that note. She did ask that question, even though she couldn't be here tonight.
All right, so hearing no further discussion, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? The minutes reflect by a 4-0 vote that the bills have been approved for payment. New business, we have purchases over $20,000. The West Virginia Sign and Light Company.
Couldn't be more ecstatic for school safety.
That's for sure.
And I know Mr. McBride, he just couldn't get it done while he worked here, so we had to pick him up and help the guy. No, I'm just giving him a hard time, because I know as a transportation director, he wanted this, and I think this is a long time coming. Appreciate Mr. Chad Metter for running interference, working with the state.
Yes.
The great thing about this, it's 100% reimbursed. If you ask me a question, when will this be done? I'm hoping it'll be done before school starts, so everybody can see that new light. So, Mr. Metter, am I speaking out of turn? It should be done before school starts?
I will contact the county. I think what they'll do first is set the concrete areas for both signs. And then once the signs are thrown, they can schedule a time to put it in place.
Are they solar powered, I assume?
I don't know if they're solar powered. Do you know? I thought they were hooked.
I'm sure they are. I mean, I don't think there would be any, I'm on the spot.
We'll get you an answer. How's that sound?
Just
Okay.
curious. Then remote operated again?
Yeah.
Mr. Brogan, or Mr. McBride, I'm
Yeah.
sure you'll want to do the honors here.
Well, I would like to make the motion to approve this purchase.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. McBride, seconded by Mr. Brogan. Any discussion? I just want to say that I remember having discussions about these lights in the price committees and for years for Hinton area. And I know that, it's been looked into time and time again, but I appreciate Mr. McBride bringing it back to our attention and Mr. Metter for getting the funding
Thank you,
for
Mr. Mayor,
this.
and you, Mr. Warble.
And hopefully that's going to make our students and our staff there on that location and that busy street, because much safer. So thank you all. So all in favor of approving this purchase over $20,000, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Let the minutes reflect by a 4-0 vote that the purchase over $20,000 for the Hinton area elementary traffic lights has been approved. We have item B under new business 10, discussion or possible action to approve the following policies. We have Roman numeral 5-C-2, school district attendance areas amendment. 5-G-11, maintenance and use of opioid antagonist. 6-D-2, homebound instruction amended. 7-B-7, granting exemption B for homeschools, and this is amended or revised. We have these policies here in front of us. They have been on review for the amount of time. Have we had any comments?
No, sir, we have not.
Okay.
I think just because they're just a little tweak and it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we approve the aforementioned policies.
Second.
Motion on the floor by Mr. Brogan, seconded by Mr. McBride, that we approve the 4 mentioned policies. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? abstaining. Let the minutes reflect by a 4-0 vote that the policies listed under new business B have been approved. Under new business for C, discussion or possible action for consideration of extending the publication period of the following policies. We have 5-C-1, in-county students attending out-of-county schools, and then 6-D-6, programs of study for limited English proficient students. Those have both been amended or revised.
And what we're discussing is extending the publication period, is that correct?
Correct. And how long are we going to extend that? Is there a
Till the next board.
next board meeting?
Or,
Okay.
this disclaimer, Trey Morone says so.
Okay,
He's our
all right.
attorney and tells us what we need to do.
All right.
Because there are times when he says, we might want to do X, and I
Okay.
don't mind listening to him with that.
All right. Renee, are you okay with that?
Yes, I would make a motion that we extend the publication period.
Okay. I'll second that. Motion by Mrs. Farley, seconded by myself, that we extend the publication period of the two policies listed under new business item C. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Let the minutes reflect by a 4-0 vote that the two policies under new business C have been extended for publication. Item D, discussion or possible action regarding approval of contract between Summers County Board of Education and Teach for America Incorporated.
Oh, another way to have an option.
And this is the MOU here, okay.
What do you guys, principals, get any feedback on this? Think it's a good idea? Just don't have any other options, really.
And if there's no monies, as long as we don't have to spend anything until, there is action, then I think that there's no harm there.
Yeah, it's only going to be used if it can't be filled traditional ways.
Talked to Adam and I about doing this instead of the ACE program because it offers a lot of benefits to teachers who might not be able to afford doing an alternative program any other way.
It's an alternative, the alternative.
Well, yeah, an alternative to an alternative, but they chose not to just because they would have to spend always the entire month of June in classes with Teach for America.
Correct.
Otherwise, this is a route that they were going to take in order to make it work for them and their families financially. So it has a lot of perks to it that the ACE program does not, that could be a boost for recruitment.
I guess my 2 cents would just be our vacancies speak for themselves. I mean,
Yeah.
as a parent of an 11th grade student down here at the high school who often has to go to a cafeteria, I don't think that's a secret, and sits when there isn't a teacher, just to have a teacher in each classroom that might get to keep that subject going and, would just be safer. So I think vacancies speak for themselves.
I very much appreciate the feedback, and I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve the contract between
I second.
Summers County Schools and Teach for America.
Okay.
Who was that was talking? I'm sorry, I didn't know.
I'm sorry. Say that again, Renee.
Who was that was talking?
So it was the principals.
Okay.
For some of their feedback. I apologize. I should have moved the speaker over there to them.
That's okay. No, that's okay. I just always like to put in my notes. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor by Mr. Brogan, seconded by Mr. McBride, for approval of the contract between Summers County Board of Education and Teach for America. Is there any further comments? I just want to say, as we discussed before, I'd like the fact that we would continue our method of posting these locally first to try to hire local staff.
The job will still have to be posted by law.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you would have a Teach for America applicant, if they recruit them, they still have to apply.
Right.
And be hired.
Yeah.
In theory, two people apply, one's Teach for America, one's not, we have to hire that person.
Right. Yeah, and I like the fact that we're still going to post it and potentially hire locally if we can, but if not, this gives us that second alternative of trying to fill those positions, so. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstaining. Let the minutes reflect by a 4-0 vote that the MOU, or the contract between Summers County Board of Education and Teach for America has been approved. Item E under new business, action regarding approval of France Law Group contract. Go
I
ahead.
can give you some details. Remember how we joined to sue the vaping companies?
Mhm.
And we will get around 27,000. Haven't seen that yet, but after the attorneys get all their fees, they divide it up between all the counties. This is just another way that we're all joining forces, us superintendents, of going after social media platforms that really create depression and make kids feel disconnected. And people might argue that point, but I guarantee you, if you took away all that social media, our kids would be much happier and less distracted with all the things going on. They do not have to be engaged all the time with social media. Having said that, this is another way to help combat what we're doing. Kind of like we're doing Teach America, you got to find other ways to catch a mouse, and this is another way to do it. I will give you information once we find out more, but basically, how do these guys get paid? If you win, they get their cut as attorneys, and then they divide it up between the counties. And that doesn't mean we get more or less, but let's be honest, we're not in it for anything other than supporting one another, saying we're tired of the distractions.
I'll make a motion that we approve this contract with France Law Group.
I'll second.
Have a motion by Mr. McBride, seconded by Mr. Brogan, that we approve the contract between France Law Group, or we approve the contract with France Law Group. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? The minutes reflect by a 4-0 vote that the contract with France Law Group has been approved. Item 11, we have before us personnel resignations. We have Billy Jones, who's a cook, Hinton area, going to other employment. We have Daniel Hudgens, principal at Summers County High School, going to Raleigh County. We have for coaches for the summer, we have Sarah Hairston, Summers Girl Basketball Team Camps. She was a former basketball coach at Summers County High School. We have employment professional Shannon Barnett, I apologize, Rebecca McLaughlin, Haley Lane, Patricia Buckles, Morgan Durham, and then we have employment service Jerry Schaefer. Substitute teachers, we have none at this time, and then summer professionals, we have Lauren Rochetti, Jacob Persiani, Donna Duncan, Melissa Jacobs. And these have all been posted in the locations on the agenda. So is there any, do we have a motion for these persons?
I'll make a motion that we accept the superintendent's recommendations for all the previous read positions.
I'll second.
I'll second.
So motion by Mr. Brogan, seconded by myself. Any discussion?
I just think it's pretty neat. We've actually got substitutes for summer school. Everything's filled. It seems like things are looking up. People want to come here.
Wait till we take you for a tour of the walls back there. They're looking up.
All right, no further discussion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Let the minutes reflect by a 4-0 vote that the superintendent recommendations for personnel has been approved. Item 12, superintendent report.
We've had a lot of great information tonight, a lot of celebration going on, and we should remember that this school year, we finally went back a regular school season. And we're almost there with graduating our students with a high graduation rate, and the weather looks good. This Friday, 6 o'clock. I promise you, it shouldn't be more than 1 hour. Really, they don't want to hear us talk. They want to hear 3 names, first, middle, and last, and hand a diploma. And I can't tell you, this is the most exciting part of the year. This is what it's all about. And these kids are ready to move on and commence to wherever else they want to go, whether that's employment, education, or enlistment, the 3 E's there. And we have done such a good job trying to navigate between COVID with partial years to put COVID getting back to a traditional setting. And don't forget, I cannot stress this the most. We even conquered the education gap, which is a sinkhole. I know that's a bad pun, but the high school, I think, coined that. They were going to make T-shirts in the CTE class and all kinds of things. If you think about all these, I would never have guessed a sinkhole could cause such a big problem, but that was a safety issue. And I know you as a board want me to always look at health and safety first and then education third. And you can't make this stuff up, guys. We've had a pretty good school year considering all the stuff that's going on. The other thing with the report is levy information. You should all have received a handout about that. I did find out clarification, since there's new state code, you cannot run special elections anymore for levies with school boards. Having said that, we may run an election in May, a year from now, in the primary. If that would happen to fail, we could run again in the general. Having said that, we'll talk about that as we get more into this, but all the packet of information, I want you to go through that. We'll glean some information. 77 days out is what we have to look at to say we want to have a levy. So as we move forward, our new CSBO and I will be working with you and the directors and talking about strategies, working with you two as a group of 2 people out, and we'll listen to what people want. I want to come across listening campaign and also positive. What do you want? Don't tell me what you don't want. We don't need to talk about that. Just tell us what you're interested in, and let's stay positive, because we're asking what you'll do for the kids. And then we'll keep it like that. We'll take all the questions and answers. We can compile that, put that out, and then we can start putting stuff together to say, this looks doable. We can do this. Also, Cassandra, our new CSBO, she's going to give you some new information at the next board meeting. Already she's making good decisions on how to maybe grow our money, correct? And we're going to share that. That's our cliffhanger for next board meeting. How we're going to grow, and it's not planting a tree, I can guarantee you that one. But it's how we're going to invest it to maybe get what, 5%?
Yeah, instead of the 2.9,
We'll just keep at the cliffhanger, because we've been here long enough, but I know, look at Mr. Brogan waking up there. He's excited. So, anyway, it's all legal, and it's nice to bring someone on that says, hey, we ought to think about this. That's what we hired her for, to think outside the box and to help us out. And real quick, after the board meeting, anybody in this room wants to, well, it's not flooded. I told them to sweep up, make it nice, because people need to check out the building project. And you guys can ask any questions and dialogue, anybody in the room. It's dry, flat concrete, and you want to see, it's pretty cool, guys. They're moving. This has been a dry week, and it's going to continue that way. So, Mr. President, that's all I have to say about that, because you've been here long enough. You don't want to hear me talk.
Thanks, sir.
I believe you guys get a chance to talk.
Yeah.
Points of privilege.
So item 13, point
There you go.
of privilege. Ms. Farley, we'll let you go first.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
You can.
Okay. Some of you might be aware, maybe all of you are aware, that one of our bus drivers, Greg Hales, was recently diagnosed with leukemia. His wife is a teacher at Talcott Elementary, Lindsay Hales. the bus drivers had a Grillin' for Greg fundraiser last weekend in conjunction with the teachers and staff at Talcott Elementary. And today, Greg Kales and his family was presented with $5,705
That's great.
That is great.
to use for medical expenses and travel expenses. And I'll quote my sister-in-law. She said, "We sure do, for a little community, we sure do have big hearts in our community."
You're very right. Thank you.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Brogan?
Mr. Warble kind of took my thunder.
Oh,
I
I'm
was
sorry.
going to congratulate all the seniors on all their hard work and thankful for, well, you know, as we've heard tonight, we've had a lot of achievement. So it's not just seniors. I'm just thankful for all the students and their achievement they've made, but especially the seniors, and special thanks as well to the teachers and the principals that got them there. Thank you all so much.
And since we've recognized so many students tonight, I'll let you go last, Jeff.
That's all right.
I'm just gonna go ahead and feed off of what Kenny said. You know, we've had a great turnout of students that we've been able to celebrate successes, and that's what we are all here for. You know, we wanna see our students excel and achieve all that they can while they're here with us. One group that I will mention outside of the ones that we have seen tonight, there was a band performance here. It was last week, and I was able to come down, and it was about an hour and a half long. Mr. Sims warned us prior to the band performance. He said it's going to be a little long, but he did really good. His kids did exceptional. He only broke one baton, and I found out that's what the stick's called. It's a baton. He only broke one of those during the performance, but
Called a stick.
you know, it was an hour and a half, and it did not seem like an hour and a half. And we have some really good talent in our band. It's exciting to see that band grow. I remember it hasn't been that long ago coming to a football game and we just had a few kids on the field. And so it's been really exciting, and I look forward. He started a choir now with some of the kids, so it's just really exciting to see. You know, there's so many different areas. We look at sports, we look at, you know, at band, we look at the esports. You know, I think we all here on this board want to see as many opportunities for our kids to get involved as possible. That helps with their emotional growth. That helps with their, you know, their psychological growth. So it's just great to see the staff who are putting the effort into working with these extra programs and these extracurricular activities as well. Mr. McBride, I'll let you finish up.
All right. I want to also congratulate all the seniors about to graduate. I also want to congratulate all the students that we not only celebrated tonight, but throughout this year. We've had a bunch that done great things and represented our school or our county well. And I want to congratulate all the principals and the teachers, assistant principals. We're showing growth, and you can't ask for more than that. I mean, we've had a couple of tough years. And to be showing growth after what we've came through is amazing. I also want to thank Ms. Gum and Mr. Dernan for helping me with the traffic lights. We've been after that for a while.
Yes, we have.
So,
I hope the bright lights are so bright it blinds our principal.
oh, I
All
guess
right.
that's about all I have to say.
All right, item 15, Mr. McBride.
Oh, hey.
Oh, I make a motion we adjourn. Time is 7:37.
And,
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Renee.
You all have a